She told me, "I'm not ready for marriage. I still want to enjoy life." I said, "Okay then." I quit waiting around and focused on my own journey. While she was off collecting experiences, I built a steady life and found someone who truly knew what she wanted. She told me, "I'm not ready for marriage. I still want to enjoy life." I remember the sting, sharper than I expected. She sat across from me in that dim cafe, sunlight cutting lines across her laughing face, and spoke as if my heart didn't exist. I nodded, forced a smile, and said, "Okay." Then, the words were quiet. But inside, something in me snapped. I watched her leave, suitcase in hand, excitement written on every line of her body, while I stayed behind, hollow, hearing the echo of a future she promised me and then snatched away. Weeks turned into months, and every adventure she posted on social media felt like a knife twisting deeper. I realized waiting would only make me smaller, while she collected experiences like trophies. That's when I stopped waiting. That's when my revenge began. Not with confrontation, but by living a life she could never tempt, a life she had underestimated me for. I've always been quiet, the kind of person people glance past without a second thought. In school, I sat at the back of classrooms, unnoticed while others took credit for my ideas. At work, I delivered results on time, flawlessly, and watched as promotions passed me by, handed to those louder, flashier, and bolder. Even with her, I had been the steady presence, the one who remembered birthdays, held space for her doubts, and dreamed alongside her while she flitted from one thrill to the next, convinced I'd always be there. I knew her type well, adventurous, impulsive, always chasing something new. I understood her desire to enjoy life, but I also knew my own worth. I had built resilience in the quiet corners of my life, sharpening patience like a blade. Every dismissal, every slight, every unacknowledged effort had been fuel, though I didn't realize it at the time. Now, as I watch her collect memories without consequence, I feel no anger, only a slow-burning satisfaction that comes from knowing I can move in silence. I am steady, I am deliberate, and I am finally ready to show that the life she underestimated is one she can't touch. Every message she sent carried a hidden edge, flippant jokes, stories of new cities, nights out, as if testing whether I still existed in her world. I read them in silence, letting the tiny betrayals sink in. Her tone was light, almost careless, but every laugh I saw on her screen at someone else's joke felt like a quiet insult. I imagined her glances over cocktails, the tilt of her head, the way her eyes sparkled when someone noticed her daring side, the side she never saw in me. At first, I checked my reflection in the window after these encounters, wondering if I looked smaller, less alive, but I didn't. I straightened my posture, let my jaw relax, and reminded myself she was not measuring me. She was measuring herself. Every "I can't wait to see where life takes me next" was her unwitting confession. She had underestimated me entirely. The tension grew, not in words, but in the spaces between them, the pauses when she expected me to wait, to linger, to react. And I did nothing. I let the quiet simmer, a slow heat of anticipation, knowing that patience, carefully wielded, could speak louder than any outburst ever could. It hit me one rainy evening, sitting alone in my apartment, the city lights blurring against the wet glass. I realized I had been waiting for her to come back, waiting for validation, waiting for some imagined right moment. And in that waiting, I had been invisible to my own life enough. I started small. I cleaned my routines, sharpened my skills, nurtured friendships I had neglected, and invested in myself in ways she never had patience for. Slowly, doors opened, a promotion I had earned, invitations to projects I had only observed from the sidelines, a rhythm of life that felt purposeful. She was still chasing experiences, still posting snapshots of a life in motion, but I no longer envied them. I envied nothing. The pivotal moment came quietly. I met someone who knew her own mind, someone steady and honest, and suddenly the contrast was undeniable. Her flippant charm, once intoxicating, now felt shallow. And in that recognition, I understood. Revenge wasn't about embarrassment or confrontation. It was about living a life so complete and deliberate that her absence became irrelevant, and my presence undeniable. I didn't need fireworks. I didn't need drama. My revenge would be invisible, precise, and unassailable. I started by mapping my life like a blueprint: career, finances, social circles, and reputation. Every decision became intentional. Every choice building towards stability and influence she could never disrupt. At work, I took on projects others overlooked, ones that required persistence and foresight rather than charisma. I documented every achievement, every client win, every innovative solution, small evidences of competence that added up to undeniable credibility. By the time she noticed, the doors I had quietly opened were already wide. I expanded my social network, carefully connecting with people who shared values of consistency and integrity. I cultivated hobbies and passions she had dismissed, turning them into arenas where I excelled. Contracts, legal matters, and professional certifications were checked and rechecked. I made sure my foundation was airtight. Every move was silent, every step measured. My satisfaction grew not from her downfall, but from the life I was building that she could not touch. No matter how much she tried, by the time the world saw me fully, I would have done it all without raising my voice or giving her the satisfaction of seeing me struggle. It was subtle at first. She reached out one evening, casual and teasing, assuming I was still waiting, assuming I had not moved. I listened politely, smiling inwardly, and answered with a measured calm that felt unfamiliar to her. She noticed it, the quiet confidence, the way I no longer tilted toward her expectations. The real payoff came later in the world she could see. At a work event she attended with a new friend, people gravitated toward me, clients, colleagues, even strangers commenting on my accomplishments. I watched from across the room as recognition and respect surrounded me, a gravitational pull she could no longer influence. She laughed, but there was a pause in her eyes, a fleeting flash of awareness that the life she had dismissed had grown without her. I didn't need to point it out. I didn't need to gloat. The satisfaction was in the silence, in the fact that she had underestimated me for so long, and I had moved forward anyway. Her adventures had entertained her, but I had built a life anchored in depth, purpose, and clarity. In the calm of my success, the unspoken revenge was complete. I had become exactly what she could never take or ignore. The aftermath wasn't loud. It never is when revenge is quiet and earned. Colleagues who once overlooked me now sought my input. Invitations arrived without effort, and respect became an unspoken constant in every interaction. Friends noticed the change too, the way I carried myself, the calm confidence that didn't demand attention but naturally commanded it. Even strangers treated me differently, responding to the aura of someone who had quietly mastered their own life. She noticed too, not in confrontation but in hesitation. Her laughter carried a tension I had never heard before, a pause when she expected me to falter. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but I saw it clearly. The realization that she had lost the chance to shape my life, something she had taken for granted, was hers alone to bear. The stakes had been higher than pride. They were about self-worth, about proving to myself that I wasn't defined by her whims or dismissals. And the audience should care because this is the life we all navigate. Moments where patience, consistency, and quiet focus outweigh impulsive desire. Sometimes the deepest satisfaction doesn't come from making others pay. It comes from reclaiming your own narrative. Now, when I look back, I see that her refusal was never the end of my story. It was the beginning. I've learned that patience is a quiet weapon, and self-respect is a life no one else can take. The anger I once carried has been replaced with clarity. Every choice I made, every small step, led to a life I can be proud of, independent of anyone else's approval. I found someone who shares my steadiness, someone who doesn't need to escape life but wants to build it alongside me. Together, we plan, we grow, we celebrate small victories without fanfare. And I realize that fulfillment isn't a destination, it's a rhythm of intentional living. As for her, I wish nothing but the lessons I've learned for myself. Her adventures, once so dazzling in my imagination, now feel distant, almost unreal. Like a story I watched from a theatre seat while living another, richer one on stage. I've stopped waiting, stopped longing, and started living fully. And in that quiet victory, I understand the most profound truth. The best revenge is a life so complete, so deliberate, that no one can ever take it away. The door she left open, I closed it, not with anger, but with grace.